Okay, good morning, everyone. So today I'll talk a bit about case study in Thailand. For the voluntary workers, let me give a little bit of background. So very different from Malaysia, we have defined benefit pension scheme, and it is part of the whole social security. So the pension benefits was added as part of the benefits of social security in 1999. And usually members are there by mandatory law. So most people are employees, but we have a special rules where those who leave employment can then choose to contribute voluntarily, and they have to do this within 6 months. There are now about 2 million voluntary members each month on top of the 12 million mandatory members. So total 14 members paying contributions each month into the pension scheme, or into social security scheme, with pension being part of the benefit. However, the monthly salary for voluntary members are set at much lower rate than those who are in the mandatory scheme. So those who are mandatory scheme, they pay based on their salary. But those in the voluntary schemes, we don't track their salary. So we set them to be 4,800 baht, or about, so you divide that by 30. So you get in US dollars per month. And this has never been increased. And this leads to a problem that is being solved now. So to understand that, we have to look at first the pension formula. So we have a defined benefit pension formula. It's written in the scheme rules. And the benefit people will get will be based on the replacement rate multiplied with the pensionable salary. Replacement rate starts from 20% if they have paid at least 15 years of contributions. And we add 1.5% each additional year of contribution. For example, if a member pays 16 years of contribution, they would get 21. Then you multiply this replacement rate with the pensionable salary, and the current formula takes the last 60 months of contribution, average it, and that would be your pension salary. We also subject each month of contribution to 15,000 baht salary cap. And this has never been increased. So the way you calculate pension will also be capped to this amount. There's a problem with the final averaging earning formula, because the last 60 months, while it's easy to understand, it may not be fair for members, particularly if they don't follow a regular career pattern, if they don't have increasing salary all the time. Some people might have lower salary close to retirement, so pensions might decrease. And this affects those who join the voluntary scheme, those informal workers who continue to contribute. They will have their last 60 months of salary to be set to 4,800 baht, which is linked. It's set based on the minimum wage many years ago. So obviously it's going to be lower than salary of anyone in the system. So people then would receive very low pension if they become informal workers during the last years in their career. So we then propose a new formula. This is called the career average revalue earnings formula. And by principle, we take average of all months of salary into calculation. It's a common formula being used now around the world, in Europe, in many countries in Asia, like China, Japan, South Korea. And we don't just take all the salaries and then just take the average directly, but the salary each month must first be revalued. So we use actual concept of present value, taking what is the present value of the salary you contribute to the scheme, let's say 20 years ago. So to do that, we would look at the way salary has been increased over the years and the statistics of salary increase within the social security system. So we also have other changes to the formula. So on the left, we have the previous final average earnings formula. On the right, we have the career average revalue earnings formula. And of course, we changed the way pensionable salary is calculated, but we also changed the way replacement rate is calculated a little bit. As I mentioned, the additional 1.5% accrual rate per year is the same, but if you have a month but not a full year, we would also use that now. So let's say if you have 6 months, you would get 0.75% or half of 1.5% into your pension, into your replacement rate. So that's slightly higher if you have some additional months. And then we also plan to increase the contributory ceiling starting next year. So under your formula, the ceiling has been capped at 15,000 baht since 1999. Under the new formula, it will be implemented with a change in the contributory ceiling, which also applies to the pension benefit. So starting from 7,500 baht next year, and then gradually increase to 23,000 baht, in 7 years. And we plan to do that later to increase annually. So how do we revalue past salaries? We use historical average salary in the system of members in the scheme. So for example, in most years, it's around 3%. There was a year about 15 years ago where minimum wage was hugely increased. It affected so many people. So the increase in average salary was around 12% and then 10% the following year. After that, the salary increase has been slower because many people have salary that is reaching the 15,000 baht cap. So many people have the increase of 0. And when you take them into the average, so that's why the average is lower than 3-4%. If you take total accumulative revalue, that is, you multiply all these increase together, if they don't reach the cap, we would effectively be multiplying the salary in 1999 by 1.9. So that means if your salary was 10 about 25 years ago, now it will be worth close to 20 in terms of present value. And this concept is actually fair because if you take the average salary of the system, which is 6,300 baht in 1999, and you multiply that with 1.9, you would get the salary of today. And if you take the average salary of any year of all of the members in the scheme, and you multiply with the accumulated revaluation index, you would get the orange line. So that means effectively the salary in each year is worth the same today. There is no concept of we have salary that is low. All the past salaries are worth the same as the current salary today. So by taking the revaluation of salary in each year, we ensure that the system is fair. It takes into account all years of salary without reducing the values of past salaries. They are worth the same as today. And this solves the problem for informal workers who pay contributions in the voluntary schemes of 4,800 baht nominal salary. If they continue to contribute in the past formula, they would have reduced pensionable salary, so their pensions decrease despite increasing replacement rate when they contribute more. But because contributory salary decreases so much, pensionable salary decreases so much, they actually get reduced pension by continuing to contribute. So many people chose not to contribute. We have a reducing numbers of members in the voluntary schemes in the past 4 years. The new formula will solve this. So if they continue to contribute, their pensions will actually increase because all the previous years of contributions are still used. All the previous salaries are still used in the calculation. Overall, this will have a good impact for those people with reduced salary close to retirement. They will have higher pensions from longer averaging period. Members with deferred retirement, say they leave employment at the age of 50, then they work in the informal sector, but they don't choose to contribute into the voluntary scheme, they would receive slightly increased pension from the revaluation of salary, say at the age 50 to age 60. We would revalue their last salary at age 50 to the present value. Despite the same replacement, they get higher salary, so their pension is high. But members with salary over 15,000 baht, under the old formula, when we increase the contribution ceiling, they would get too much pension after we increase the ceiling for like 5 years because all the past salaries are never used. So it's a bit too high. So it's important that we increase the contributory ceiling for the first time with the change to care formula so they don't get too high pension. So effectively, that pension would be reduced compared to the old formula with the ceiling. But that's just because it would be too generous if we don't change it. Members with high jump in salary close to retirement will also receive slightly reduced pension because we're taking high average. If they have low salary throughout the lifetime and just high in the end, that would be unfair to give them high pension. So under care formula, they would receive what should be fair, although lower than the past. And we need to have special consideration due to
Hello,
the
Kim.
ceiling increase. Yes.
Sorry, 3 more minutes, please.
Germans, yeah. Wrapping up. So there's special consideration for transitional rules. So the formula common around the world, but it's quite unique to use this because we're increasing also the ceiling for the first time. And for this change we accepted, we have 2 transitional rules. So one for members who are already receiving, we would give them pension based on the care formula if it's higher. Otherwise, we give them the same pension. And the second transitional rule is that for the next 5 years, if the retire would have given them, we would use the old formula as part of the calculation. So this year, we'll pay them based on the old formula. In 2027, if the old formula would have given them, then we would use 80% of the old formula plus 20% the new formula. And we then do this until 2030. After that, it will be totally the new care formula. And the overall impact to the scheme, usually it doesn't actually have cost because the care formula in itself, let's just skip all this. The care formula in itself is actually fair, so it doesn't have increased cost. The average pension will be the same, but there are transitional costs because of the transitional rules, and there are costs associated with increasing the ceiling for the first time. So this is about 100 billion baht, or 4.3% of the pension fund. And it's small increase in cost. So if we think about overall sustainability, we say it's a small increase in cost, but it will allow people to trust the system that the benefits are fair, the benefits are adequate, and then they will be more likely to agree to changes to increase retirement age or contribution rate in the future. So it's a first step we will towards sustainability, especially for those who work in the informal sector. Thank you.
There are 2 questions, Kim. First is, what is Thailand experience on working with the platform? And the second is, how about migrant workers? Kim, please.
So first answer, yes, sure. So first I answer the second question. Same as Malaysia, a labor law and social security law treats all workers the same. We don't discriminate. We don't discriminate it by where they're from. And then the first question on experience. So we have very different experience from Malaysia. So we went to court using the labor law, and our court ruling says that platform is a service and the workers subscribe to the service. The platforms are not employers. So we then couldn't go that route to make platform workers mandatory social security schemes because of the court ruling. So we're looking at now ways to redefine their security of the new types of table. So